Huzzah, Rangers! This is Phil Harris here at the Jacks Rangers Show, and I am joined with a very, very special guest this time around. He is our new assistant coach. His name is Pom Simona. Pom, how the hell are you?
I'm bloody well, thank you. Thank you for the lovely intro. Stoked
You're
to be
welcome.
on here.
Great. We also have our very, very excellent. You're an outrider, Dave. You're the first. You're the first outrider. We've got Dave McVeigh here, Diamond Dave. Dave, how the hell are you?
Can't get rid of me. I'm the gum on the bottom of your shoe. I'm doing well, Phil. I'm doing well.
We love to have you on here, Dave. Of course, appreciate you joining us once again. It's been a while, man, but I want to go ahead and get to the questions with Pom here. He is joining us from the great country of Australia right now. You're going to be traveling very soon, I think. So let's get right into the questions. Where are you from?
So I'm Auckland's home for me, Auckland, New Zealand.
Okay.
Yeah, but I am Samoan descent. I grew up in Auckland, and Auckland's where I consider home. So, been living in Melbourne for 10 years, for the last 10 years.
Very good. Yeah, so we do have a Free Jack on the squad there that was born and raised in Australia. Mitch Wilson, who's a USA international, but moved to the United States and is USA eligible that way. But I was not aware that you're from Auckland originally, a New Zealander, so that's pretty cool. Just in terms of like people don't quite understand the rivalry between New Zealand and Australia. Do you get a lot of shit being from New Zealand and living there in Australia?
Yeah. You get a bit. I suppose the most similar thing rivalry I can think of is the US Canadian rivalry.
Yep, it's a real thing.
Yeah, New Zealanders see themselves as the little brother, where Australia is like the bigger country, big brother. So, it's been all right since I've been here actually, because New Zealand's the All Blacks have won majority of the games.
That's right. Yep. You
guys. From a rugby, it's been good, but probably other sports like cricket's a big game in both countries. Not so good.
Gotcha. Well, I'll tell you, man, we're super excited to have you join the Free Jacks organization. Just give us a quick origin story with rugby. Obviously, as a New Zealander, I'm sure you were born with a rugby ball in hand, but when did you realize you wanted to be, involved in rugby more than just, age grade and stuff like that?
Yeah, I'm probably one of the only, especially around my age, for my generation, I didn't play schoolboy rugby.
Mm-hmm.
My school, I think, was the only school in Auckland that didn't have like a first 15, like the first team rugby team. We didn't have enough players, and we were quite a big school, but we were quite a well-known badminton team.
Okay.
Badminton school, sorry, and table tennis. So didn't really play until I left school. It was the thing that all my friends were going to play at the local rugby club. So I kind of just went along, and it was like it's literally my back fence, or jump through another fence, and I'm at the rugby club, and it's kind of where everyone hung out.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Love the community aspect of that for sure. There's Charlotte Rugby Club where I cut my teeth at here in the South. It's basically in a residential area, the actual club, and it's one of the few clubs that actually have a dedicated clubhouse right there. So I guess, kids, if they were interested, they could just jump the fence and be right there at the rugby pitch. So very, very cool. Give us a brief background of your player career and also your coaching career so far. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, sure. So I started playing my local rugby club. So local rugby club's called Pakuranga. It's not one of your stronger clubs.
Mm-hmm.
So I went along and played for a club called University in Auckland. With a lot of my mates played there. Just real good, a real lad sort of club.
Yep.
Lots of beers. Really enjoyed our time. Probably a bit too much off the field than we did on the field, but we had some really good players there who were just starting out in their careers. Had Jerome Kano, Joe Othakoko, John Moore, who's still playing now, and a couple of my good mates played there. We all lived together. Two guys, Daniel Braid and Angus McDonald. So we lived in the same flat with a couple of other mates. So really good players, but we probably just weren't as serious as we should have been.
Mm-hmm.
And so from there, I went to Ireland. It was actually through Mike Rogers, got me to Ireland for an off season.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, so went to Ireland. That was awesome experience. Eye opener. Ended up staying there for 4 years, and just going back and forth. So I played a season in Ireland, and when the off season, I'd go back home and play an off season at home. I actually did an off season in America for Belmont Shore.
Okay. Yep. Sure. Yeah. One of the best clubs in the United States. You know, a very historic club for sure.
Yeah, it was awesome. Loved it. Like it was a Super League time. We actually lost in the final to Nyack, New York Athletic.
Wow. Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So
We love to beat
real,
Nyack around here at Mystic River country around here. So yeah, for sure. That's interesting. What was the cultural clash between, you know, growing up in New Zealand and then going to Ireland, a very, very different place in the world? I mean, speak the same language, but I mean, what was that like?
yeah, massive difference, especially because I'd never been that side of the world before. But
Right.
I think, you know, the more you travel around rugby, the more you find that the rugby communities, it's got its similarities, which bring us together. And then the things that the intricacies, the differences kind of sets them apart, but it's really, it kind of defines that area. Like it's an awesome community. Like rugby in Ireland, you know, it's a tough old slog in the wet. But you
Right.
learn to appreciate, like I learned to appreciate set piece and game management. Whereas New Zealand, it's just let's have a crack. We'll run the ball from everywhere.
Yeah.
Have a bit of fun. Like the post matches are the same. You know, like you can beat the shit out of each other for 80 minutes, and then
Right.
I actually think you probably have more beers in Ireland than we did in New Zealand. So
Makes sense. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
They like to
but
drink over there. Yep.
yeah. I think
Absolutely.
one of my very first games we were playing down in Limerick, which is known as a bit of a tough city, and there was like you were saying before, this ground was a community ground, and it was surrounded by a housing project, and there's a big fence around it. But kids, you know, would just jump on the back of their sheds, and they'll just lie there, and they all had BB guns. I don't know what you call BB guns.
What?
Yeah, I got shot in the back of the leg. I actually thought I did my hemi. We were running down the sideline and got shot with a BB gun in the back of the leg and turned around.
Wow.
And kids were cracking up on the roof of their shed.
Now that's a first. I've never heard somebody being shot with a BB while playing rugby. That's pretty wild right there. Yeah, that's interesting.
But I think it was part of the intimidation of going to the ground.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah.
I don't think
So-
MLR would allow us to have BB guns at Fort Quincy, but we love that intimidation atmosphere for sure. So yeah, that's something we'll have to brainstorm about. So this is interesting. I was an asshole and was playing the whole down, you know, man down under song, Men at Work, thinking that you were an Australian. Sorry about that. But I wanted to ask you about former Free Jacks head coach Ryan Martin has a lot of history with the Melbourne Rebels, previously serving as the skills and kick strategy coach and also as the attack coach. He's one of those, did he point you in the direction of the Free Jacks, or was it Mike Rogers that we just learned about was pointing you in the direction of Ireland previously?
No, it was definitely Mardo, great man. Got a lot of time for Ted Lasso.
Oh yeah, I love that guy. He's been on the show, you know, when he was the head coach multiple times. Really appreciated what we did very, very early on. So we got a lot of love for that guy. So he basically said, you know, go to the Free Jacks, they're great. Or how did that whole go down? How'd that happen?
He kind of I was at the point where I probably needed to. I was doing assistant defense with the head coach at the Rebels, and he probably saw before I did that I needed to probably branch out a little bit and own something of my own. So we were just talking over beer. Actually, we just went for a few beers around Richmond here in Melbourne. He said, "Why don't you?" He loved this time in Free Jacks so much.
Yeah,
and he said the similarities in Melbourne and Boston, both sports mad cities. He said you'll love it up there.
Nice.
And it kind of just started from that, and then started exploring it probably a bit more with TK. Spoke to TK, and just saw what an awesome operator TK is.
Yes. Yep. We're very, very lucky to have him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're big TK fans on the show here.
100%. Yeah. And he's big fans of us, which is great. We have him on quite often. I think he holds the record as the most appearances on this show. We're gonna have him on next month as well. So love TK. But Ryan Martin's a guy that just his 1 year here, we knew that this guy was gonna do bigger and better things in rugby. And we've got a good one with Scott Matthey, as I'm sure you know, as the head coach. But we definitely miss Marto. He was fantastic, and it's so cool that he had such a great impression of the Free Jacks when he was here. That reputation is kind of going out globally as a great organization to be a part of. And what this league is all about, MLR, in my opinion, is, especially at this point of its history, is it's whether it's players or coaches that need to branch out, as you said, or just go someplace and kind of prove themselves to a certain extent or get better. This is a great place to do that, and the Free Jacks are a great organization to do that as well. Do you have any teaching history? Are you a teacher? Because it seems like a lot of our guys are teachers, in the staff. Is that something that you're focused on
No,
as well?
well, no teaching qualification or teaching, but I did early on. I wanted to go play rugby in Japan.
Okay. Yep.
And to play rugby in Japan, or one of the ways, without having a degree, you could do teaching English as second language.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that in Auckland, like in preparation to go to Japan. Did that for almost 2 years, but then ended up going to Ireland of all places. So
yeah, no Japanese speaking there. So wanted to ask you, what's your impressions of this team, the Free Jacks organization, obviously just winning the championship in 2023, going to have a solid squad, I'm sure. Those announcements are slowly rolling out, but we expect to have a very, very competitive squad. What's your impressions of the team, and have you been able to watch the games from 2023 or any highlights of the organization from last year?
Yeah, definitely. I watched Proven. I think I'm going through my third run now, and I think what I got from that is for a young club like the Free Jacks have an identity, and it's what I really like about it. It's tied to the city and the people. Like it's a pressure game. It's hard work. It's effort, and I think when I think of Boston and like Boston Strong and so many good boxers. I love fight sports, so I think Boston's just tough. Fighters that come out of Boston are tough, and I think that's the way the Free Jacks play. Like, if I look at that final, like there's Ma'anonu, like all the names. If you're looking at a piece of paper, the names would say San Diego should win this game,
right?
But that's not what character's about, like you can't measure that character. And that's what the Free Jacks, for such a young club, have that identity. Is it's about character. It's about guys that will work hard for each other. And you can see that in the things they do off field that Scott and Mike did, like the vault, how connected they were.
Yep.
Like, I just think like teams like that, you just want to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
So it just seems like guys are really selfless. They work hard for each other. And in some cases, it's probably the hardest thing to instill in a team, that ability to work hard for each other. Like you can have all the big names. As I was saying before, with when I was young with university, like we had big names, but we worked hard off the field, but we didn't work hard on the field.
Right. I got to tell you, Pom, what you're saying is music to our ears, because it sounds like you immediately understand and get, what's taking place here with the culture of this team. And with Mike Rogers leaving, he was kind of like the culture-centric guy. And one thing in the back of my mind, just coming into this offseason, was we knew he was going to leave. He's taken over there at Manawatu down there. Is the culture going to continue, that strong culture in the locker room? Is that going to continue? Because it was a huge part of the success. As you were saying, if you look up and down the rosters in that final, you're going to recognize a lot of the names on San Diego, and maybe not so much with the Free Jacks. But the Free Jacks, because they really love each other and we're truly together as a team, I think it was just that extra 1% that got them over the line in that final. So that grittiness, that toughness, that's all about this area. And it's so great that the organization has really molded that into this team. And I think that's important going forward. So I'm glad that you're gathering that from the documentary, which is fantastic. I'm sure we're gonna have to watch it over and over again as the season gets closer because we're all ready to get everything kicked off. So, how would you describe your coaching style? I'm very curious about this.
I think relationships is a big thing for me. So caring, I really like that you use love. Like I think and most people will say love doesn't belong in a sports team environment, especially one like where you're trying to smash each other physically and hurt people. But I think like love's it's part of care. Like if you care for something, you love it. Like you may not be in love with the whole time, but just in a relationship. But I think love is the intent to act in someone else's best interest. So that's a massive thing for me, care and loving the people that you're working with. So it's probably for Kiwis, it's kind of like it's part of like those go hand in hand with rugby. Like I was speaking to Mike yesterday, had a catch up with him, like sort of like just a casual chat, a handover, and it's something that I think we care about the rugby so much that we care about the experience. And the whole experience is part of it's how it's not my intent, but it's how people how their experience, how it affects them. So I think for me, it's you've got to create that environment where players are getting better, players know that they're cared for, and and all that happens off field, and then the way that they show that through actions is on field. So I'm the same. I'm a big culture. I don't like using the word culture, but I love having care and connection with the players. And then on field, I just think it's competition. Like competition brings enjoyment. I want players competing all the time, competing to get better, competing for themselves. Like whether it's micro skills from a defense point of view, is how can I get? It's 1%. It's like how can I get a better punch wrap? How can I get my foot closer to make a better tackle? And from that, the competition to get better and better comes competence. So by the end of it, we're hoping that players walk away, whether they stay at Free Jacks where we want them to, or wherever else they go to, they say, I actually got better throughout the year by being coached and by having an awesome community and culture, not just by playing games.
I gotta tell you, it's almost like this organization knows what they want and are just kind of like trying to continue to find guys that fit that mold, which, I think you're gonna fit in very, very well with this organization based on what you're saying, because it's just kind of a continuation to a certain extent of where we were under previous regimes, and just moving that forward, which is very, very exciting. I know a lot of Rangers out there are going to listen to this, whether it be now or in the future, are going to be smiling, as I was smiling listening to what you had to say there, because it's all, it goes into the success of this organization, what has taken place in the past, and how we want to move forward with this is everything that you described there, which is really, really encouraging stuff. My final question here, and I apologize, Dave, I might have stepped on your toes there, because we were talking before, going live, about how we don't do any questions that aren't written down, and I kind of worked one in there that like might have stepped on his toes, so I apologize about that. But what I got for you here is, what were your impressions of Scott Matthey and Will Webster? Talking with them, I'm sure that you've had some conversation with those guys who are continuing on with the staff here. You guys have different nationalities and stuff like that, but what's your take on them?
Yeah. So from TK, I got talking to Scott. So probably even before I signed, I'd spoken to Scott a few times. And what I love about South Africans is I almost think that sometimes their passion for rugby is unmatched. Like it's unmatched. Like we love rugby, but I think for South Africans, it holds a different meaning, because it's got a different, because of the troubles the country have had. Rugby is that glue, that binder that brings everything together. Like no matter what problems I have being had in South Africa, rugby is the thing that brings and galvanizes everyone and brings everyone together. And when I spoke to Scott, I could really feel that. like his passion for the game, his passion for he loves the Free Jacks community. And what someone that's always, I think, with his passion, he just wants to learn and get better. And it takes a lot of humility. He said, with Mike moving on, the culture side was something that Mike was really strong on. But he's, like when I talk to Scott now, I actually think he's a lot better than what he think he is at the culture stuff. And he's genuine. You can feel his passion. And from talking not just to Scott but other people, he genuinely cares about the people that he works with and works for. So that's my impressions of Scott, and I'm actually looking forward to working with him, because he reminds me a lot of our head coach I've been working under. Very similar, awesome people, like passionate, just love people. So that the mantra that our coach down here has is love. Like that's what we have all over the walls.
Nice.
And yeah, so for me, it feels like I'm going into work with someone really similar, but I can bring, like, New Zealanders a bit different to South Africans. We're probably a bit more, I wouldn't say gentle, but we'll probably focus on that side of things more, like the camaraderie, the culture, the brotherhood off the field. We focus a little bit more on that, I think. Sure. And then Will, for a young man in age, he's got a lot of wisdom and some really awesome detail around his coaching. So it's scary to think how good how he could be by the time he finishes up. So, because he's, again, someone that's, he's just got a thirst for knowledge, just wants to keep improving, get better. And I think you're very lucky to be a player if you're coming to an environment where you've got those coaches looking after you. You got a guy that's so invested in his learning to make you a better player. Like Will is invested in his learning. He wants to know stuff for the benefit of the player. And Scott is just, cares, has a lot of passion for people, for the club. I just think you'll be pretty lucky to find coaches in any club like that.
Listen, I absolutely have to agree on this one. For us to retain a champion-winning head coach who has, I'm sure, other opportunities that he could explore is fantastic. He's a great up-and-coming coach, the giant killer, if you will, from South Africa. And then Will Webster coming back, a young, energetic, as you're saying, wise beyond his years. He is going to have a great, great career in rugby somewhere down the road. He's going to be a head coach somewhere. We're very, very lucky to retain them and to add you into the mix with your experience with the Melbourne Rebels and their pathway just coming up. I'm super, super excited about this season. I'm going to turn you over to Dave, his very, very capable hands. I appreciate your time, Pom.
No worries. Thank you. He's a patient man.
Oh, yeah.
I get to bring in all the weird questions and the nuts and bolts stuff now. That's what I really enjoy. So we know that for the Free Jacks, they love this last season to generate turnovers and use those turnovers to attack their opponents, right? The Rebels last season, they put up some tremendous numbers in those areas. Second in second in overall turnovers, first in tackle turnovers. It feels like a really good fit just right out of the gate, bringing those, sorts of skills and focus. What made that Melbourne Rebels team so good at winning turnovers?
I think, like you were saying, I think turnovers is, it is, more tries are scored from turnovers than any other possession. And then you've got lineouts, but so it was just a way that we didn't have the players that the athletes, some of the New Zealand teams did. So we looked at it as a way that we can probably close that gap is to attack them when they're least expected, or attack them off turnovers. So that's probably why we worked really hard on trying to generate spark opportunities, or I think Mike called it home runs.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, we called it because we wanted guys just to click, spark up as soon as we got turnovers. So we worked really hard on that on the back of a kicking game and trying to dominate contact either in the tackle or breakdowns to try and create those opportunities to attack.
That's great.
I think it's important to, from a defense point of view, to have an end goal. Like it's awesome. The All Blacks you can make 37 tackles in a phase. You can survive 30 phases, but there needs to be an end goal, and the end goal is you got to try and win the ball back. Otherwise, you're probably tackling for another 37. So, if I use an analogy of like a heavyweight boxer, a lightweight probably throws about 30 punches. Well, why survive 30 punches if you can just knock them out in one and get the ball back?
Yeah, that's perfect. It's a perfect analogy. Just get the job done. I love the idea of having the end goal for your defense. Like, we're not just here to stop or to make good tackles, but then to turn a stop and a good tackle into a turnover and turn that into attack.
Yeah.
You have a pretty diverse background athletically. How has martial arts training been something that added to your abilities as a coach, and have you brought that to the teams that you've worked with?
Yeah. So what I love about martial arts is it's such a discipline, and I only picked it up when I was in Ireland. The club I was playing for actually got a jiu-jitsu coach in to help us with the contact stuff, and then in the off season I just kept going along more so to learn just being comfortable in really tight spaces, how to use your body. And then I probably just kept that on when I was still playing. I kind of used those, when you use something that you learn and you get results from it.
Yep.
You keep more and more and more. So when I finished playing, I joined a MMA gym, not just for the actual physical, but just to watch how MMA coaches coach. Like, it's a big group, it's one-on-one often, and a lot of their instruction is within the heat of combat. So guys could be sparring, and it's how calm they are and how precise with the coaching they are. So it wasn't just a drawing to learn the actual physical stuff. I kind of just took notice of that, started watching. There's a great jiu-jitsu coach based in New York. He's actually a Kiwi who got injured playing rugby, and then he moved to New York, Columbia University. And like, when I watch him coach, he's got like the same tone no matter what the situation is. Like, he's so calm, and his message always just gets across. So I like watching people like that, and then obviously the physical stuff, like how to control someone's body, how to maneuver someone in a way where you've got better opportunities at getting the ball. And I think that's what we did with the Rebels this year. We did 2 years of jiu-jitsu, got all the players in there, and that's a way. When you say tackle turnovers, I think we were second. One of the big learnings is not everyone that I learned from first year to second year, not everyone tackles the same and is comfortable tackling the same. So a big tall lock, he's not comfortable dropping his head and making a low tackle. So I said, why? Just let them stay high, and they can maneuver people using jiu-jitsu, and they can rip the ball that way. So that's probably how I've used martial arts to come into and brought it into rugby.
I love that. I have to confess now that I actually, before I started playing rugby, I started with rugby when I was 20 years old. And right before that, for about a year and a half, I did jiu-jitsu. And I'd still, I kitted up for a match last week. Like 20 years later, I'm still playing club rugby. And there's no way I would have played this long if I hadn't learned in jiu-jitsu just how to go into a big collision, but not even, to come out on top and to control those forces, and to learn, the wrestling and that close work that lets you really just take control of, turn a bad situation into a good situation, or sometimes just get out.
Yeah, I agree. And even if you think about player safety and player and injury prevention, like, jiu-jitsu guys, when they shoot, their head's always up and they go front foot down when you're shooting for a takedown. Now, what we've been taught rugby the whole time, you drop your head. As soon as you drop your head, you don't know what the attacking player could make movement really late, and that's how you get knocked out. And now you're out of the game for, and too many, like head knocks it's a massive problem in the game. So I think, and I don't know if you know the jiu-jitsu coach John Donahue.
No, I don't.
He's Gordon Ryan's coach. He coaches out of, very good, very good. And just their detail, like around moving their body, safety, bracing for falls. I think all that stuff could be really useful for kids.
Yep.
Coming into rugby, and I'm the same. I played rugby until I was 36, when I wouldn't have played that long had I probably without jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, when you mentioned how fun it is to apply something you've learned and see it work, the first thing I probably noticed was actually falling in rugby. That jiu-jitsu had taught me how to fall and get back to my feet pretty quickly, because you don't want to get caught in a bad position. And that just was so useful so many times in rugby, just the ability to hit the ground and, do a hip roll or something, just be able to spring right back to your feet. I love that idea, and I'm looking forward to seeing what that looks like on the field. You talked about how a big player, like thinking a lock, a tall guy who's not as comfortable getting low might tackle. What about the flip side? What if you have like a scrum half or a wing who's not a big guy and has to, make one of those tackles on a front row forward or a 8-man who's crashing the line? How do you coach that scenario?
Yep. And it probably, the situation changes would obviously change what tackle you use. Say a 9, 8 picking off in a 9. It might be you're just buying time, so you can go high, get some underhooks on him until you get that help from a flanker who's going to take out his feet. Whereas if you're on the edge and your last defender, well, you're probably going to have to chop tackle now to try and get the big man down. And I think like you've got to train, practice all of them to find the one for you. Like I'm a big believer is you find what you're good at, and we make that really good rather than trying to learn 5 different tackles and being 20% at all 5. Just focus on the one that's, like I said, if you're a lock and you don't want to drop your head, or if you're a scrum half and you don't want to drop your head either, well, let's work on I'm big on getting underhooks. And no matter what size you are, if a small guy gets underhooks on you, you're getting maneuvered the way that he wants you to move. Yeah. And in a lot of those situations, it's probably just you're just holding someone up until someone else comes and helps.
Yeah, excellent. Do you think of it as how I'm trying to think of how I'm trying to phrase this question. Is it discrete different tools in the toolbox, those different tackles, or is it a little bit akin to in jiu-jitsu, like finding a flow and being able to try one and like that didn't work and transition to a different technique? Yeah. Is that part of what you work on as well? Like you went for the chop tackle and you bounced off, but now chop tackle is probably not a good example. Maybe you go high and like you didn't get the underhooks, but now you're in a different body position. Do you look at that flow?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. I think, and again, like the flow is different for everyone, right? Like you find if you don't get underhooks, well, there might be some way. So I'm big on second. Hopefully, other people aren't watching, but I'm big on.
They're not. They don't like us. They don't like me and Phil. Don't worry about it.
I'll say like so. When I'm big on doubles for if guys are going high, and then the second or so if it's a 9 and you've been bounced off, you can come back into the contact and maneuver your way behind the player. So you almost got like a rear naked, but you're not going for the neck. But what that does is, and then your main focus, if you're the guy behind, it's just to control the non-carrying arm. So that's all your focus is. To give the other guy in front, so he's fighting, ripping the ball, but he's only fighting one arm, so the ball carrier's grip's not that great. And the second thing that does is it gets a body in the way of the cleaners. Now they've got to go through a secondary body, and it might be that second that we need to get us a turnover, or to hopefully keep them up and we get the scrum.
Excellent. I love that. My last tackle-related question is, do you think you can somehow make Vian Conradi hit people even harder than he currently does? Because that would be really cool, but I don't know if it's possible.
Yeah, I don't know. That might be a public safety problem.
That's right. We'll have the U.S. Geological Survey people just up in arms about the tectonic activity in Quincy if we have Vian hitting people anymore. Well, that has been a really fun to talk to you about tackle technique and how martial arts has figured into your coaching. Joe Harvey did a really good interview with you that was in Talking Rugby Union last week. So if people found those questions interesting, there's more detail there, and I would encourage people to go read that. Shifting towards player development, you manage the Rebels pathways. You coach development sides. You also helped host an event called Rugby Palooza, which I like just based on the name alone. Yeah. Is community rugby development something that drives you as a coach?
Yeah, massively. Because I think I'm from the community myself. Like, I'm not a big name that's finished playing and just gone straight into coaching. I've come from the community. Like, I started coaching club rugby, age grade, what we call Colts here, like under 20s. Mm-hmm. That's my pathway. So for me to get to where I am and not give back, that'll be really ungrateful of me. So I think it's important that whatever knowledge I gain, I need to share it back to the community. And so the next Will Websters that are coming through, they've got their knowledge and they've got my knowledge. And, that's the evolution of how you bring your community up. It's important that I've learned from people before me, had a great mentor, or a couple of great mentors. One of them's coaching the Blues, the guy that got me into coaching, and he's done the same for me. So I'm just following what someone else has done. And I hope, I'd love to get down to club rugby and when I get to States, get down to club rugby and help any way I can. If clubs are willing to have me, I'll be down there, play a bit of touch, and
yeah, I'm sure they'll be more than happy to have you. The Free Jacks have been really generous to the club rugby community already. They are sending players around. They have for years sent players around. I mean, right when the team started up, I was coaching in Boston, and it really, it made an impression. Not only did the Free Jacks send a player to do some scrum coaching for my club, just to do some coaching, at no cost or anything, obviously. Just, tell us when practice is. We'll send somebody by. But our backs didn't have anything to do at that time, and a Free Jacks player was coaching another team sharing the field. He wasn't there in his capacity as a Free Jacks guy. He was there as a paid coach of another team. He brought our backs over because he saw that, they didn't have anything to do. So he ran a backs clinic while a forward from the team ran a forwards clinic. And it really made a big impression on me. It showed the commitment that they have to lifting up the community game as well. And I think it's paid dividends. The club game has gotten better around Boston, and it's helped make, a really loyal fan base for the team as well.
Yeah, it's amazing, just from watching Proven, how much you can tell that the Free Jacks obviously do a lot of community engagement by the game day experience.
Yeah,
like it looks amazing. Like that's how I think what's awesome about MLR is everything. Like you don't have tradition to hold you down. Like rugby can be a bit like uppity, and rugby here. When rugby in New Zealand probably wouldn't even think of having a tailgate party or having a concert after the game. Like,
Yeah.
that's how you drive engagement. That's what people want to come and see. Like, you don't want to pay $100 to take your family to a rugby and just get the rugby game. Like, you want the whole experience. And my worry is rugby down this, in the traditional areas, they're just gonna lose to your like your basketball. Basketball is so massive because you get the whole experience. It's not just what happens on the field.
Yeah. Yeah, that's certainly something that the Free Jacks have excelled at. It is, it's helped them to get eyes on the sport who might not otherwise be there. Like, obviously, there's like marketing and promotional value to be gained from having concerts and events, but I really think this season, especially this past season, it's become evident with the expanded concerts that they've done. It really is community driven. It's not just a marketing thing after the game, fans are on the field where they just watched, for 80 minutes, they watched their team play and win because in Quincy, the Free Jacks win. So, you get to watch the Free Jacks win at home and then you go on the field. Everybody's hanging out. The kids are running around tackling each other and climbing the walls and the fences. There's a band on stage. People have beers. We're all shooting the shit. It's really a great time. And it's something Coach Matthew has talked about, how much he enjoys it. Everybody's there. In how many sports can you walk onto the field after the game? Players from both teams are there. Coaches from both teams are there. Fans from both teams are there. And, you've even got owners, managers, everybody's there. You can walk up to anybody and strike up a conversation. It's really a unique environment, and there's a lot to be said, for the work the Free Jacks have done to create it.
Yeah. No, it's amazing. I think that's when you have that connection and community to the players, and when Scott gets up on a Saturday morning before the game and says, "Look, you're playing for something bigger than what you are," well, players know, like, oh yeah, I met, Bob was working at his timber company. He's put aside this much money each week to come and support me. Like, now you've got actual connection to the actual community because you can do things like that. Compared to like Super Rugby, where as soon as the game's finished, the players go off, they get their ice baths or whatever, the fan goes home. Like, there's no interaction and connection.
Yeah, it's certainly the fans love it. The players, most of them love it. I think, I always think, man, how much would I love walking around in front of the 100, 200, 300 people right after a game. But man, they seem to enjoy it plenty more than I probably would. It's always great, really enjoyable.
Helps if you're winning too, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's true. It's a lot more fun. It's a lot more fun when you've won. Coming to the United States, are you excited to visit the U.S.? Have you been here before? And is there anywhere that you're particularly looking forward to visiting?
Yep. So I have my wife. First time I went to the States, my wife and I were just dating. It was their 21st, and we went to LA for a holiday. And it's kind of like, your first holiday together. Like, it might be a deal breaker. It's make or break. So it must have been all right because I'm still here and she's still here. So that was my first time in LA. And then I came back and did a season with Belmont Shore.
Oh, right. Yep.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to it. Probably I've never been to the East Coast, which is what I'm really excited. So probably Boston and New York is, I think, the tradition, it's going to be really different to the West Coast. Like,
yeah.
Vegas is pretty fake. Like, that's kind of fake. But where you've got the East Coast where there's so much, like there's tradition, the different nationalities, the migrants that moved there and made the New York and Boston what it is today. And then obviously Boston being a sports-mad country, city. So I'm looking forward to getting involved into that and going along to Red Sox and Celtics.
Yeah, SportsMad is definitely right. As we speak, the Celtics are beating the Knicks in their season opener, 108 to 104. So hopefully that score stands when we go to the presses. But yeah, year round they're talking about somebody, whether it's the Celtics or the Sox or the Pats or the Free Jacks. There's always somebody at the top. I don't know how many sports talk radio stations we have in Boston. More than any city needs. Yeah. But it's definitely a big part of the culture, including the big bombastic takes and the the wild sports opinions and everything else that goes along with it. How about your family? Are they excited to come visit the U.S.? And it wouldn't be a Jacks Rangers coach interview if we didn't talk about how awful the winter will be. You'll freeze. It'll be super cold. All that. Are you looking forward to earning the spring, as we say around here?
That's a good way of putting it. I like that. Yeah. Yeah. So I've just come back. I had 5 days in Bali, and I was like, I'm sick of the heat. It was like, so I generally I like the cold, but I think the Boston cold is a different cold. I probably didn't know what cold was until I get there. So I'll see. I'll just have to see when I get there. See how it goes.
Yeah, just bring a coat. We've heard a few horror stories of people showing up in February, or not in February, in January, and they've got a hoodie like that. They've got that, but the reality of the Boston winter hits you pretty quick if you're not prepared.
What's the typical temperature around Jan?
Probably in Celsius, it would probably be a couple degrees above zero, just the average daily temp, just barely not freezing. Yep. But then we'll have stretches of 5, 6, 7 days where, not frequently, but 1 or 2 each winter usually, where you'll have a good week where it doesn't get above freezing outside.
Yep. Might just cut holes in a sleeping bag and walk around in that.
It's a good way. It's a good way to do it. The other thing that gets people is like the snow doesn't melt. So if you get a good snowstorm and then the next week it's warm, the piles of snow just stay. It takes weeks of warm temperature to actually melt, these little mini glaciers. So very quickly the beautiful snow piles become trash-ridden gray heaps of dirt that you just really hope you don't fall in as you're walking by on your way to the Mint, there in Quincy. So, but it's a lot of fun. This has been great talking to you. Can't wait to see you around Quincy and around Boston. Thank you so much for your time. I'm sure Phil has a few more things, but best of luck on the transition over here, and let's ride.
Hell yeah!
Thank you very much. Thank you. Looking forward to it. If you've got a jiu-jitsu gym that's close in Quincy,
Ooh, I don't. I was down in Connecticut years ago when I started. So I'm not the right person, but I have a couple connections. I can at least ask around. If I get any good leads, I'll let you know. Maybe somebody listening will have a good lead too. So if you know a good jiu-jitsu gym in Boston, reach out to the show, reach out to Pom, and let them know.
I know a guy that I was just talking about jiu-jitsu to him yesterday. He's a season ticket holder, and we've got a very, very exciting announcement coming up soon that we're going to share with everybody. So I'll get you connected with him, Palm. He'll know somebody for sure that'll be able to help you out. I wanted to open up the floor to you to speak directly to the Free Jacks fans, the hardcore Rangers out there, as we like to call them, the fans out there. What do you have to say to them as you approach, getting to the United States sometime in the next couple of months and being the assistant coach of the Free Jacks going forward?
Yeah, I think I'd say looking forward to it is probably an understatement. Look, I just can't. I'm really excited. I can't wait to get down. I realize how the enormity of the task at hand. Like to be replacing someone of Mike's stature and what they call in New Zealand like mana, which is there's no word for mana, but that's for me. That's what Mike has. But very honoured to be working with TK, Scott, Will, and the whole club. to do something pretty special, like to try and put back-to-back years together, like that you can be really proud of. And I think what the club has done in keeping that core group, I think I'm the only new staff coming in. It's unheard of, and so to have come into an organisation where everyone's staying on bar one is it says a lot about the community, the club, and people wanting to be involved in the Free Jacks, and a lot of that is down because of the community. It's because of people. It's people don't work and stay in a place because if they're not investing in their community. So to see, again, just from proving, to see the amount of support that the Free Jacks have, and how loyal and awesome their fans are, it's just something I can't wait to get involved with, and hopefully have created lots of memories in Quincy, and share a beer with fans after the game.
Awesome. Really, really excited about you joining up with the Free Jacks, Palm. We'll see you very soon. I'm sure, the preseason's just right around the corner. It's kind of getting to the point where we're so excited about the season starting. So we're waiting for any news about, players coming in. We got some news today about some players joining us, but everybody's just kind of like on the edge of their seat, because we're getting into that point where anything is just like, yes, it's coming soon. So we're really, really excited to see you. Yeah. I appreciate you being on here. We say one word to exit the video. It's huzzah. And we're going to say that in 3, 2, 1. Huzzah!
Huzzah!
Woo!